Okay, everyone, welcome back to our explorations in medieval Daoyin with Dolly Yang. I'm really excited again to keep going with this text. It's this really cool and fascinating look into how these kind of health exercises have evolved from a medical perspective. On behalf of myself and all of the attendees, and also, of course, Taoist Arts Organization International, we're really, really thankful to Dolly Yang for facilitating this program for us. But having said that, please take it away, Dolly.
Well, thank you so much, Robert. Really, it's me that should be thanking you and your organization who really, helping us to make this possible. So yeah, thank you so much again. And I'm just really excited that we got this group going and we are sort of looking at just this text, which is the 7th century Chinese medical text, and has got so much material on therapeutic exercises. And I think that's what makes this text so special. So yeah, and we are kind of, just focusing, zooming in, looking at these exercises in conjunction with the diseases. So all the time, what we have been doing is we read the text based on my translation. And so people who, if you do read Chinese, please do, correct my translations because they're definitely not definitive. And then we then look at the Daoing instructions one by one. And so all the time we kind of trying to understand, the exercises according to the instructions, but also trying to understand why this particular exercise, is in this, under this particular disease entry and what the relation, what the connection. So always thinking about the curative aspects of these Daoing exercises. And so far, I think we covered quite a few exercises by now. And as I said before, we are following the translations of my book, but actually, really, a lot of these is still interpretations. So that's why what's amazing about this group is we can still investigating it, exploring it, and challenging the interpretations which I have given in the book that I published last year. So basically we just still carry on trying to sort of find more nuances and more insights from the participants. Some of you I know are practitioners of Chinese medicine, so you really will be able to give us some insights from your practices with your experiences. And also there are people who are Tai Chi and Qigong practitioners or yoga practitioners. So it's just really amazing, with group of people like yourself to look at this text and and work on the materials together. So, okay, so today I think we got to chapter 7. So I mean, if anybody who have joined like last sessions, if you have any questions or if you have any observations, now is the time to share if you would like to do so before we move on. So if you trying to remember what we did last time, and if there were anything that you want to ask or any sort of observations subsequently after the sessions that you did try out a few different exercises, and is there anything you would like to share?
Okay.
Okay.
I think is the last one we did.
Okay.
Yeah, for the last one we did, I tried practicing it on my own, and so where you lie on your back and you grab your feet and pull them up for low back pain, and I have to say I feel like it. Oh wait, no, that's what we're doing this week. I was going ahead. I'm
All
sorry.
right.
Have we done that one yet?
Are you looking at page 80?
81, 82.
Oh, 82. Okay, yes, you are slightly ahead of us. So yeah, this is what we're going to do today.
I see.
Okay. So in
Okay,
that, so
perfect. Oh, I do have one thing to add. The on page 78,
okay.
I did do a fair amount of these exercises, and I feel like they were really quite useful. Back, I just wanted to note for anyone who might, teach this or use this in clinic or in a class, it was really useful to start to work up to it by putting a chair behind you.
Oh, to hold on to
So you
it?
can rest your hand on the chair to get your back. For a while, then you could take away the chair and just stand on one leg. But yeah, I found it really useful, and maybe I was reading too much into the translation, but I was pulling quite hard on my leg, bringing it up,
Yeah.
and I found that that really engaged a lot of muscles and sort of like opened up the pelvis in a really quite nice way, pleasant way. So, anyway.
That's really wonderful. I mean, there is this term which is called 即式 here. So in this exercise, which means extreme posture. So it does encourage you to do it to your utmost ability. And so you kind of, the term does suggest that you do it as much, as much as you can. So that's great if you're trying to push yourself. But then obviously all the time you have to make sure that, you do it safely as well. So yeah, that was really good. Wonderful. Great. So let's start looking at chapter 7. So that's page 81. 卷 1, section 22, and is symptoms of wind damp B. Okay, so I will read. Yeah, so that's what we normally do. We just read the translation of the disease entry, and then we move on to the DAOI exercises. Okay, so it says conditions of wind damp B disorder are that the skin becomes unresponsive and tough, or the muscles have aches and pains. When the three qi of wind, cold, and damp arrive randomly, together they create B. When there is more wind, damp, qi, and less cold qi, they form wind damp B. If blood and qi are deficient and one is subjected to wind and dampness, it leads to this kind of disorder. If left untreated for a long time, having entered the channels and the network vessels, they attack the yang channels, restricting movement in the body and limbs. So that's the end of the description of the disease. And then we have this kind of phrase which appear every single time if there is Yang Shen or Daoing instructions. Okay, so it says the orthodox prescriptions for decoctions, hot packs, needles, and stones are given elsewhere. The Yang Shen supplementation and Daoing instructions are now attached below. Great. So any insight from this particular disease entry to do with B, which is often translated as like blockage or impediment. And I'm supposed to translate it as B impediment because that's what I said in the introduction. But because in this particular one, it's already trying to explain what B is, which are the three different qi come together. The wind, the cold, and the damp create the B. So yeah, I kind of just left it as B. Are you okay with the disease description?
Yeah, it's very clear. And
Okay, cool.
it's also, so here it shows really it's more the damp aspect. And also it shows the preconditions actually. So it said what it's lack of chi and blood, isn't it? Did I read it correct?
That's right.
So that's that's a kind of precondition to attract this kind of so, and I think in clinical, as far as what I have seen, you know, it can be impediment of movement, and also I
Right.
think things like neuropathy could also show up in these kind of, especially if it's long and it goes into the collaterals and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Right.
Where I live, actually, it's very interesting because we meet people who have wind, cold, and damp B very often in clinical setting, because I live near a lot of dairy farmers. And so they're frequently exposed to cold, damp weather. And because of the nature of their work, even more so they're, because of working with dairy and consuming more dairy than average. But the special interesting feature here is that they tend to have heat inside of their bodies as a
Oh.
result of working with dairy. But the manifestation of that tends to be in them having very bound muscular tissue, and often they'll end up having, if they can't find other recourse, they end up having to get injections into the muscle with, I think, Botox. Maybe not Botox. I think, no, what is it? Felix, you would know this.
Corticosteroid is generally
That's right. Yeah, exactly. And they'll have to do that like once every 6 months. So what I've seen as a point of reference is that basically it makes it extremely painful to move the affected area, would be sort of how I would describe what I see, especially with wind cold B. I'm not, or cold damp B, I should say. The wind factor, I'm not so sure.
Very interesting. So would you say this relates or similar to sort of arthritis type of illness?
What do you think of that, Felix?
Yeah, could be
Included,
definitely the
right?
case. Yeah, for sure. Arthritis is definitely an example. Arthritis is generally, when you translate it in Chinese medicine, there is always a B aspect in that sense. And it can be actually, the causes can be different. So they can be just external, you know, so invasion of cold, wind, and damp, and then depending on what is the most dominant factor. And then, of
Yes.
course, there are the internal, so especially the Yay fluids. So you could say the synovial fluids are, in a way, you know, you could interpret them as the Yay fluids. And so when the Jingqi, for example, is also not nourished or not strong enough, which is also closely related with the blood, etc.,
Yeah.
then the nourishment from inside is not good. So that's another option. And then sometimes they come together. So weakened from inside, actually this text is a little bit suggesting, there is already chi and blood are deficient, and then
That's right.
the wind and
Easily
and
attacked.
are easily attacked. Yeah, but arthritis is a very common, and you can treat it very well this hour. And I think this is very interesting how we can the junction. So
Yeah, so then you can also prescribe exercises to
for sure. Yeah, next
tell
to
them
the
that, you know, there are some exercises maybe they could try.
Sure.
Well, that's great. So let's read the DAOI instructions. So the Yangshen recipes, the DAOI methods says, so we're thinking, you know, this as a text, but in my PhD thesis, I kind of argue that is just you know, a way of putting all the different DAOI exercises together under this kind of term, which is called the Yangshen recipes, the DAOI methods, because really there isn't a text that, as far as we know, call that. And so yeah, and also we know in the Sui imperial court, they would have they got a big imperial library in the Sui court, and this text was compiled in the Sui court, and so they have different versions, because again, in this text, it will tell you that in another version it says this, in another version it says that. So you can see that they got different texts that they can consult. Okay, anyway, so that's just a little background about this, the Yangshen recipes and the DAOI methods. Okay, it says, move your arms freely while holding your breath. Do this 12 times. That's the end of the instruction. The instruction is very simple. So it just says move your arms freely while holding your breath. Do this 12 times. The Chinese is actually relax or just let your arms do whatever it wants to do. 任闭, 2 characters. 不息, not breathing. So hold your breath. 12, 通, 通, a lot of time to be understood as times. You do it 12 times. You hold your breath 12 times. And that's it. So it says then, this relieves damp B in your legs and inability to walk freely, and B pain in your lumbar spine. So that's the first exercise. I just wonder whether we should try it, because it actually has got another one, and then move on to the next page. So but I think we can try the first one. So the first one, if you look at the illustration, is kind of lying down, but as you know, the text just says move your arms freely. Yeah. So I would suggest you can do it whichever position you want. I mean, you can do it sitting, and basically it's just like move your arms whichever way you want to move. But then you will realize if you do it lying down, which is quite tend to be suggested in different texts or different, you know, the Chinese secondary sources that I consulted, they also do it lying down. I think that's only because I think when you're moving the arms and then you relax, you're actually, your arms are quite supported because you are on the ground. Other than that, I think you can do it whichever way. So it's really up to you. But what I think it's just good to experience it, and so while you're moving your arms, you basically hold your breath, and then, as much as you can, I suppose, then you do it again. So you do that 12 times. And should we just see how that feel as a starter? Yeah. So it's kind of nice and easy, and then we can then come back to the next one. So I think you can lie down or sit down, but then the important thing is you hold your breath, and then while you're doing it, yeah.
Yes, you want to say anything?
Yeah, I'm just curious about the character Ren, like Ren B.
Ren. Yeah.
So my experience with it is through Ren Mai, like, and it's translated as like conception vessel. Right?
Perception. Yeah, 人脉.
And sort of I could like the way that I've understood it is like you hold a post. Like once you get pregnant, you're a mom. You're now in the role of mother. You're holding that post.
任成. Okay, I think you're thinking of another character with a female radical on the left-hand side. I don't know whether, I think this is, to me, is a different character, and this character actually has got almost like different meanings depending on what other characters that, so it's kind of, depending on what goes in front or after. Like 任何 is like anything. 任何任意. So if you 任意 do anything, it's like you just do it, whatever, without sort of planning, sort of more spontaneously. 任臂, it could be just you relax your arm, you're not moving it. It could be just you're not doing anything at all, which is almost like what this picture is suggesting. You're just lying there, and then you're just holding your breath. It could be that, except I think possibly you 任臂, you kind of just let your arms do whatever it wants to do. It feels more like that. But then the important thing is hold your breath.
Right.
So so I don't know what you guys felt when you were doing it. My feeling is, well, I mean, when you're holding your breath, you already generate heat inside your body. Then you move. It's kind of like creating that kind of heat, it seems to me. And that's that directly sort of trying to get rid of the damp, I suppose. So that's kind of my understanding. I don't know about what other people think.
Have you ever made a snow angel?
Pardon?
Have you ever made a snow angel? You do if you,
Oh,
you lie in
snow
the snow,
angel.
yeah. And so I stood up, but I made the hand movements like lateral raising movement,
Yeah.
raising and falling movement like a snow angel. And it was really interesting because it did heat me up from holding the breath, and it caused tissue in my my trapezius to relax. And then at the same time, I also broke a sweat. And so
Oh,
if we're
really?
thinking about cold and damp, then breaking a sweat is releasing the exterior. So this is very consistent with a Chinese medicine analysis of what the goal of the movement.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I always found that it's also interesting though, because it asks you to move your arms, and then it says it relieve the dampi in your legs. It's almost like, how does it do that? Shouldn't it be like moving your legs rather than moving your arms? But yeah, that's what's,
Because also the meridians, if you were to hold your hands vertically, according to meridian theory, the yin meridians and the yang meridians are forming a line.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's also maybe.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So I'm sure there must be a logic in that. Anybody has got any sort of feedback when you're doing that? Was it all right or simple enough? Yeah.
Actually, I had the same question, but you mentioned, so I felt a lot here in the torso, and I wondered, so how it's going to affect my legs. But I think Robert made a point, so maybe when you make that alignment, that ultimately, and you have to do it probably a lot of times, and then slowly you build up the heat, and then it might move to the legs. And I think the next exercise is actually you do something with the legs, isn't it? So maybe also it's a kind of by step thing to do.
Okay, so let's move on to the next one then. So then lie down straight. So this time definitely tells you to lie down. And then fold both hands underneath your back. Okay, so when I hold my hands underneath, so they're just sort of going like that. But is there a possibility of doing like this? I can't do it, but I just wonder if somebody might be able to do it. But I think probably that will be the most natural way of folding your hands and then put them behind rather than like this. Because I mean, it doesn't really tell you which way you do it, but I think that's the most natural way. So if we think it's like this, and so underneath your back and stretch. Okay, stretch both legs while holding your breath. Do this 12 times. This cures damp B in your feet and inability to walk freely and B pain in your lumbar spine. Patients with problems on their left should press their right leg into the ground. Okay, so it's in you know, in this bracket, that is my interpretation. So you just need to be careful that that may not be the case. For problems on their right, they should press their left leg into the ground. Again, that's my interpretation. Practice this over a long period of time, and then press your arms also in the same way as your legs. Stop once you have done it 10 times. Okay, let's just go back to that same, so lie down straight, fold both hands underneath your back, stretch your legs. So you kind of need to feel the stretch when you're sort of trying to elongate your legs while holding your breath. And then do this 12 times. Then while you're doing that, you can try to experiment this left leg, right legs. So you can see that my translation and the illustrations, they kind of gives you two slightly different interpretations, because my translation tells you to just press your legs into the ground, whereas the illustration is kind of use the other legs to press into the ground. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I think it just, when we're doing the when I was working with my illustrator, I think we kind of we may change that idea. So but anyway, the thing is that, you know, that if you look at the Chinese character, it just says people who suffer from the left side press the right leg. They suffer from the right side, they press the left leg. It doesn't tell you how you press it. So just ya is press, yeah? So press could be you just your leg press downwards, or you have something else to press it down. That's why you have this kind of slightly two different interpretations. Okay, so should we then have a go? So it's slightly complicated only because we got this kind of two things going on. So you fold your hands behind your back, you lie straight. Again, hold your breath while you're trying to stretch your legs rather than, you know, relax your arms, you know, move around your arms. So you stretch, and then relax. And you do that 12 times. And while you're doing that, you kind of feel, and if you're somebody who's got problem with the left, then you press that things with, then you press with the other leg, or you use the other leg to press it down. It's made, yeah. So you tell me what you think is more sort of feels more right to you. Does that make sense? Should we try and then just, you know, see how it goes? Okay, great. How was that?
It's nice, actually.
Yeah.
But I found I tried both to cross it, but I have the idea just by stretching and then putting your attention maybe so pressing one side more than the other if that would be necessary.
Right.
A little bit more naturally, but I think both
It
are
almost like if you just press it down, you kind of have to tense that leg
correct.
and
Yeah,
then sort of dig the heels down.
correct.
And because if that is the leg, that is not the affected one, because it tells you if you're suffer from the right, then you do the other one. So the other one obviously is all right. So you could do it, and somehow that will affect the other one.
The other one, yeah.
Yeah. The other way is, yeah, I mean, it could be that, or it could be, you know, something pressed onto the leg. So because if you suffer from, you know, the right leg, then you use your right leg to try to push this left feet down, you know, trying to press it. Again, you're obviously exercise the weaker one to give it the opportunity to apply pressure. So, you know, that's also a kind of possibility.
Yeah.
What does other people think? Does it feel any difference or no? Not much different. Michael, you're shaking your head. Okay. What do you think about the hands? Why do we need to do that? I mean, it's almost like make you arch a little bit, isn't it? It's quite uncomfortable in the beginning, I found.
I think there's a lot of benefit to maintaining your lumbar curve. You know, when you're lying on the ground, the tendency is to sort of push your back into the ground, and the different if you don't have a lumbar curve versus if you do. And so I think that is like possibly a way to sort of work out Taiyang up in the shoulders as well, because it's a bit of a stretch for some people. But once you're there, if you're activating your glutes, and I found that it really, when I was holding my breath and pushing down, I felt my lower abdominal muscles really tense as well. And so I think that it was like a way to maintain proper function of the muscles while doing a fairly vigorous exercise in what we could assume would be a damaged area if there was bijang, right?
Yeah.
So it's a way to sort of protect your lumbar curve and make sure you're doing it right so you can activate your glute properly.
Yeah.
On that note, I would think, it doesn't say this in the text, but I would think that your toes would probably be up and not pointed forward. So when you push forward this way and then push your heels down, not like pushing forward with your toes forward, right?
Right.
Because that stretching your leg and then pushing your heel down really will fire your glute maximus, and especially with your lumbar curve being protected by your hands.
Right. Yeah. So not quite like what the illustrations shows. You're more sort of standing up like that, sort of 90-degree, isn't it?
You're mimicking standing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I have a question.
Sure.
So in the text it says, so you lie upright, facing upright on your back, and then you fold the two hands behind your back. But what does back mean in this context? I don't know, you know, in classical writing, but in more modern context, back, I think bei is usually meaning like the thoracic area, right? Whereas yao, the waist will be the lower back. Is that sort of a modern take? How are they treating it in this kind of text?
I would say bei is just quite a more general, like, you know, at the back, at the back. So yeah, so not that high, I don't think.
Yeah.
I
Are
mean,
you flexible enough to get it behind your thoracic spine?
No, that's what I was wondering, because I would envision it going somewhere around the Mingmen.
That's where I put mine. That's where it felt.
I think that's where it's bei xia. I mean, again, it gives you this the word xia is kind of almost like bei and then below.
Oh yeah, I see that. Yeah.
Yeah, 柱 bei xia. So I think will be like bei, the back, below, low, down, if you like. Yeah, so I think
Probably
that
right
that's
in the
probably,
right in the lumbar area, as Jesse says.
yeah, and then yeah, because if when you say yao, then people more think about the front and the sides,
Oh, yeah.
but then the back is definitely behind then.
Yeah.
And then xia is lower. Yeah. Okay, cool. Right. So, okay, let's move on to the next one. So that will be on page 83. Again, it says massage your abdomen with your hands, lie straight, stretch out from feet to head. I think that's kind of the first section, because then after that it says curl your arms for guiding and pulling, which is a bit abstract, you know. You're trying to wonder what are you supposed to do, and pull your feet with your hands. Okay, that's a bit more concrete. Hold for a while, relax your arms. So here we got the ren bi again. So relax your arms or move your arms, whatever, in whichever way, and hold the qi without breathing. Repeat 12 times. This cures damp bi, an inability to move freely, and pain in your lumbar spine. Okay, so we got a few things here. First of all, we start massaging our abdomen, our abdomen with our hands. Okay. Then it says from feet to toe. So from feet to toe. So that suggests again is the translation is kind of move it a little, sort of swap the position, because it says lie straight and then stretch out from feet to head. But actually the Chinese is from feet to head, lie straight. So I think you can then interpret this from feet to head as the direction of your hands, kind of from lower to top, and then but then you kind of, I don't know, if you still kind of need to do it in a, if somebody's tell me massage, I kind of do it in a circular movement, but here it says from feet to head. It could be that, or it could just means from feet to your head, you lie straight, which then refer to the next thing, which is obviously what my English translation has done. And then at the later stage, that kind of has been swapped, because that just maybe it sounds a bit more natural. You lie straight first, and then you straight out from feet to head.
Could
so
it
that's
be?
why it's swap. Yeah.
Is there any like possibility that it's referring to like massaging your abdomen from the bottom up, like sort of like stroking it this way?
Yeah, I mean, we should try that actually, because I mean, that seems to be literally, if you just read the Chinese, it kind of, if we think that from feet to head is to suggest direction, then yes. I mean, yeah, it's not literally you massage from your feet all the way to your head, I don't think. Because it's use hand or hands, massage abdomen from feet to head. Upright, lied upright. So that's the first three sections of the Chinese there. Yeah, I mean, it is slightly puzzling, because as you know, the punctuations obviously has been done later with the following the modern editions of this 7th century Chinese medical text. So again, is how do you punctuate a text? Yeah. You can say, okay, I think this is about massaging the feet, massaging your abdomen with the direction of moving from feet to your head. That's one thing. And then you lie straight, you start to do some kind of curling your arms to do the DAOI. Then you pull your feet with your hands and you stay there, hold it. Then you relax and then hold your breath, do that 12 times. I think what I would do is I will first just massage my abdomen. Then I would do some kind of like move around with my arms. It said curl your arms. So it's kind of like curling, and later you see that term again. It's kind of curl your arms, so then you can actually reach your ears. So pull your ears, curl your arms and pull your ears. But here, no, here just curl arms and, guiding and pulling. So you kind of do something with your arms. And then you hold your feet with your hands. And then you stay there, true, as in, to live, to stay, yeah? So it's kind of 3 things there. And then you relax your arms, hold your breath. Or you hold your breath, as the figure 26, you hold your breath while you're holding the feet. That's also a possibility. Except yeah, I mean, this is kind of, it's all open for interpretation, I'm afraid. So I really haven't got a definitive answer. So the only, okay, Jesse.
Could because you're curling your arms to guide and pull with your hands, grab your feet, like, because if you said that you're curling your arms like this, we're also sort of curling our arms to grab our feet, right?
Okay, yeah. Yes.
So it might be just referring to the same motion, like, because in yoga they have the happy baby pose where you grab your big toe and pull your feet up that way.
Yeah.
And I'm curious if this is the same or different, right? Because it doesn't say. I imagine if it was the big toe, it would say the big toe, but grabbing
It
the
just
inside.
grabbed your, yeah, I mean, it's just grabbing your feet. So it could be you grab it from your toes, you grab it from your heels, I don't know. I mean, you can try whichever way that's most comfortable, I imagine. Or should we just have a go
I
and
guess I would
see?
suggest for people trying it to, but if you're trying it, see what positions your arms stay curled in, because it's a bit of a reach, right? So if your arms are locked straight, maybe there's a way to hold it where it's curled. Maybe that would be a way to identify how they're describing it.
Yeah, okay, let's try that. Okay, so also think about this from feet to head, whether it just means you just lie very straight from your feet to your head, lie straight, or whether this from feet to your head actually means the motion to do with how you massage your abdomen. I mean, it's kind of hard to tell, really. I mean, but we can try. And then the other one is curl the arms, but in such a way that you hold your feet, as suggested by Jesse, kind of curl your arms and hold your breath. Hold your breath 12 times. That's the key. Well, I must say the motions, with the hands moving from the feet to the head, this kind of direction, so the moving upwards, it just feels wrong to me. It feels like somehow, massage your abdomen. It's just kind of like doing in a sort of circular movement. And the way I was taught, well, with my sort of modern Tai Chi Qigong practices, is you do it clockwise, so imagine you being a clock, so you move it clockwise. So that's to follow the direction of the large intestine. So that kind of feels right, Whereas I think this kind of, if we kind of trying to move our hands from feet to head direction, so going bottom up, I don't know, it doesn't feel comfortable. I don't know about what you think. I still convinced that when you massage your abdomen with your hands, you do it the most natural way. And then the feet to head, referring to the position of your lying straight. I mean, you could argue that it's already say straight, lie straight. Why would you want to emphasize the feet to head? Then I did this hold my feet. I don't think it's possible, Jesse, that you could sort of curl your arms. My arm is like just straight. It doesn't matter how I hold it, from the toes or from the heels, from the sides or inside, my arms would be just straight. So did you manage to do it somehow, curl your arms? Or
If I sort of, I mean, there's a lot of questions with this one because, like, are your feet like you have in the picture? Are your feet sort of pointing upwards? Like in Happy Baby, are you grabbing the inside? Are you grabbing the outside? I found grabbing the outside, like you have in the picture, to be challenging, whereas grabbing the inside and sort of curling the feet like
yeah,
this was a
yeah.
little easier.
Mm.
But yeah, so there's a few unknowns here. I had a question about the Chinese where it says, I think it's Bi Chi Bu Shi Shar Tong.
Tone.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
So, I mean, I feel like this is an important fact. Like, if you're holding your breath, are you holding it with air in, or are you blocking the breath from coming in and holding it on the exhalation before you breathe in next time? I feel like these are like fairly important things. Do you think that this is speaking to that at all?
I would say 闭气, it would be you already got the qi inside and then you close it. So 闭气 to me will be like you inhale,
Mm-hmm.
then you not breathe, 不息.
Mm-hmm.
Because the tone, this understanding of tone has got this idea of then this qi in your body is tone, is doing this kind of some kind of circular movement.
Yeah.
So you got to have some breath in your body,
Right.
rather than you breathe out and then hold the breath.
Yeah, I mean, it could get quite uncomfortable when you're holding the chi and doing these exertive movements. And this is like a theme for almost all the exercises we've done so far. Have all the chapters have some aspect of breath holding. I think it's really fascinating. I don't know.
There's a lot of that. You somehow, you hold your chi, you hold your breath, and then not breathing, and then you do the exercises.
It's like you're trying to,
Especially these B thing.
yeah, like blow out the congestion or something like that. Like you're trying to pop a gasket or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. You assemble the chi, you hold it, and then you release. In the beginning, I can remember I mentioned the Sotai exercises, and while doing this, I was thinking, yeah, this principle really looks like Sotai, because in Sotai also it's also always you ask the patient to hold their breath, and then you create some tension, and then you release.
Yeah. And also you hold that tension, you hold the breath, and you do the exercise. So it's
Right.
almost like you
Yeah.
already struggle.
Makes Yeah, you already struggle. And I would agree with the belly. It feels much more comfortable just to follow the clockwise movement than instead.
Yeah, just it feels really comfortable, and rather than the other way. It just doesn't feel right. And nothing to me, it's just nothing to do with the B or pain with the lumbar, or it just doesn't do it. So this, to me, it just kind of makes yourself in a much more comfortable state. You know, massage your abdomen and then lie straight, and then you kind of prepare yourself with your arms curling, you know, doing the DAOI, just guiding and pulling, you know, and then you bring your hands to hold your feet in that position, relax your arms, and then hold the breath. So that's how I would interpret. And when I was doing it, it did feel like when you're doing that, obviously your whole body is like quite contorted, very constricted, yeah. So you're kind of contract, and then it kind of makes me want to like just relax, completely sort of, you know, let go. And so yeah, it kind of feels like it will help with if you have sort of kind of movement problem with mobility, or you know, by restricting even more and then release it might help. So that's kind of how I feel. Anybody else?
I actually
Crystal.
I quite liked massaging my abdomen from my toes up.
Oh, wow.
I thought it was very, so I went with a pattern of pull up and then kind of this narrow down and then up and then a down. And I just went with that. And it was actually quite calming.
All right. That's interesting.
It was very interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah,
You feel
was
quite
like
calming with this kind of direction, going upwards and down, upwards
and then down.
down,
Yeah.
upwards
And then
down.
moving my arms around to relax my shoulders so that I could kind of get most of the way. I'll be honest, I did not get to my feet.
Okay, that's very interesting. We should try. I mean, yeah, it kind of slightly jarring with my sort of normal practice, which is you massage your abdomen, you know, clockwise. It's sort of like
I was very surprised at the outcome. I was very surprised.
Gosh, that's interesting. Yes, let's or maybe we should persevere, just, you know, spend a bit, we should try, you know, in our own time just to see if that kind of makes sense. Yeah, that could be just that. Great. Well, thank you so much, Crystal. That's wonderful. Right. Okay, should we move on to the next chapter? Is that okay for everyone? Chapter 8. Again, it's B. It's all to do with B, and I think it's quite a sort of common illness, if you like.
Well, and I think it's so fitting right now. At least I'm in Southern Ontario, and we have had nothing but feng. Like,
oh, really? They're very windy there.
So bad, so horrible. Like, it's just every single day there's something. I mean, 3 days out of 5 last week, you thought you were going to get blown off your feet. So,
oh God.
And then all of a sudden, everyone's like, I have no idea why I'm so sick. I'm like, I know why you're so sick.
You know, in this text, the first whole section is all about the wind disorder.
Yes,
it's all wind.
It's
all about
brilliant.
wind. Wind is the.
I had to reach out to my friend because I literally, when I first got this book, I was talking and I was so excited because it arrived, and I flipped open to this section and I was like, oh my goodness, this is literally built for you. I sent her a whole bunch of pictures from the first little part because it described everything that she has. So as I was, at first I was messaging, I was like, hey, did you try these yet? Like, tell me how they work. She's like, actually, I haven't had any symptoms, so I haven't done it. I was like, but anyway, stay tuned. I did already send this off to a friend. So
amazing. Yeah. So yeah, wind disorder is big. And
Cute.
You will find a lot of the DAOI instructions are in these wind disorders categories. And so yeah, is kind of very important, and you know very, very common disorders for the DAOI exercises to be effective, I imagine. Yeah. Okay, so should we have a look at chapter 8? Anybody wants to read? It would be good if somebody could read the disease entry. I mean, I kind of read it today. I thought it was very interesting the way it describes it, because we realize by the sui, the five phases, yeah, the wuxing is completely embedded and standardized in, so you then, because if you study Chinese medicine, it basically, this is like a textbook. It's kind of, it's very familiar that, the five, the spring and the liver and summer, the heart, and, this kind of thing. Anyway, can somebody read it, please?
You want me to read?
Yes,
Okay.
please. Thank you,
Okay.
Felix. Section
Thank you.
24, symptoms of WIMB.
Can you hear me well? Because I have a new microphone, so I'm a little bit experimenting. The sound
That's
is
all right, we can hear you.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Okay, B is when the free chi of wind, cold and damp, arrive randomly and together create B. The conditions are the muscles in the flesh become stiff and thicken or have aches and pains. Because the body is deficient and the pores are open, one is subjected to the wind deviance. If the disease is in the yang, it is called wind. If it is in the yin, it is called bi. If it is both in yin and yang, it is called wind bi. Bi encountered in the spring is sino bi, which makes the sinews contort. If sino bi is not resolved and encounters further deviances, it then moves into the liver. The conditions are being startled out of sleep at night, drinking a lot, and urinating frequently. B encountered in the summer is vessel B, which makes the blood congeal and unable to flow, causing one's complexion to be withered and yellow. If vessel B is not resolved and encounters further deviances, it then moves into the heart. The conditions are drum-like pulsation below the heart, qi rushing up in reversal, panting and obstructed breathing, dry throat, and the need to swallow. B encountered in the late summer is muscle B. If it is in the flesh, there will be no sensitivity. If muscle B is not resolved and encounters further deviances, it then moves into the spleen. The conditions are weakness and slackness in the limbs and coughing and vomiting. B encountered in autumn is skin B, where the skin loses sensation. If the skin B is not resolved and encounters further deviances, it then moves into the lungs. The condition is that the qi rushes with pain. B encountered in the winter is bone B, where the bones become heavy and unable to lift, they lack movement and are painful. If bone B is not resolved and encounters further deviances, it then moves into the kidneys. The condition is a tendency to swelling. You want to go on or?
No, I think that's quite a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
So did you kind of see the sort of progressions? Yeah, so it moves from the spring, summer, and then long summer because 4 seasons. Yeah, so but then it needs to have five because we're trying to match with the five elements or five phases. And so you got the spring, summer, long summer or late summer, autumn and winter. And also you got the liver, the heart, the spleen, the lungs, and the kidneys. So that's start with the wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. So it's very neat. For me, I just think, wow, that's just, completely standardized textbook there. And so yeah, it's interesting. Anybody has got any observation in this disease entry? I mean, I don't really know why they call, like, for example, sinew B, vessel B, muscle B, skin, and then bone. The bone to do with the winter time. It's kind of also like a progression, I imagine. So the sinews, and then you start travel, through the sort of the vessels, and then again, I don't know, muscle, skin. No, it doesn't go further in. I thought it's like more as a progressions, but
No, but it's clearly related with the seasons and the organs, I think. So, B in spring course, that's more sinew, so you can. And then in summer, it's more related probably with the hearts or with the vessels.
Okay.
And in
Then
late
you
summer,
have.
of course, that's spleen. So that because that's in the center, so that's the flesh, muscle B.
Okay. Right.
And then
Then the lungs.
the
to do
lung is the
skin.
autumn. That's autumn, so that's the skin, and the lung is
Yeah.
related with the skin, so that's clear. And then the
Okay.
bone is related with the kidney. So that's really neatly in 5 phases.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
the only moment it goes, so it says when there are deviances, then it seems to go deeper into the system. So every time actually there is the risk that the bee goes deeper in the system.
Yes. Yeah. Then affecting the actual organs, then the liver,
Correct.
the heart.
Yes, correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's also interesting to consider that with the different seasons and the different tissue, that each of the seasons, organs, and tissues, they also have an orifice. And so, for instance, with the heart, you have vessels, but isn't it the case that the vessels are opening up from is it from the pores, Felix, that the vessels open?
The vessels, the mammary.
Like in the summer for the heart, it opens. There's an
Might be.
orifice in the body that
I think that's more this. I think I would relate the spores more to the lung, to the skin.
the lungs.
Yeah.
So which is the heart? Because isn't there one where sweat comes out?
Yeah, and that can be related to the heart.
That's lungs or heart?
The fluid of the heart is sweat.
Yeah, yeah. So I was just wondering that with the different types of bee, if the different like the different fluid of the organs might be in any way brought into it, because you could also think of like saliva as being invoked in some of them and so on.
I think these are like, sort of different illnesses as well. Like the vessel bee seems like more of a like cardiovascular illness, like maybe a sudden heart attack or something, like and so I do think that these are sort of seasonal, I don't know what the word would be, but connections. Like for myself, it's spring. I have bee in my shoulder. I was waking up uncomfortably last night and peeing more than normal. So it was sort of interesting to read my descriptions here. I don't normally think about urination with spring wind, but now I'll think about it more. So these do seem to be like associated, fairly different types of illness, and something to really keep in mind in clinic during the different seasonal changes. There definitely is like a theme to spring. I've seen many patients with pain in their neck, pain in their shoulders, and they don't know what's going on, right? But it's spring bee, and then be more careful in the summer for the heart being impacted.
Wonderful. Okay, so should we move on to the next paragraph, a short one? But I think probably we read the rest, because then we start with the Yangshen recipes as well. So anybody wants to read the next section?
Sure, I'll read.
Thank you.
If when diagnosing a pulse it is large and rough, it is B. If the pulse comes swiftly, it is B. The orthodox prescription for the decoctions, hot packs, needles, and stones is given elsewhere. The Yangshan supplementation and Daoyin instructions are now attached below.
Okay. Good.
The Yangshan recipe says, going into the water when you are sweating creates bone bee.
Okay.
Again, it says, withholding your urine and not letting it pass through makes your knees cold and creates bee.
Yeah, so these are the instructions from the so-called Yangshen recipes. I mean, I don't quite know the reason why, but then that's just kind of, that's what it says. Anybody wants to comment on any of these?
I mean, there's correspondences like water being associated with the kidneys, being associated with bone B,
Sure. Yeah.
right?
So, so going into the water when you're sweating, then yeah, I suppose if you are sweating, your pores are open, and then you enter into the water, then somehow the more damp seeping into your So
I know with gua sha, after scraping, it's contraindicated to take a bath or a shower because we're trying to get the dampness out. And like going into water when the pores are really open. I think they envisioned it as like the excess water chi coming in, causing more stagnation inwards.
Yeah. So that creates bone B, not necessarily in the winter. Okay. And so, and then, or if you withholding your urine and not letting it pass through, which then makes your knees cold, and that creates B. Anybody has got any insight in that, with that? Why that is to do with knees?
Again, maybe there's a relation because the kidneys, well, the knees, also depends how you look because many aspects of the body can have many different correlations, but there is one correlation with the knees and the kidney. So with
All right, with the kidneys
might also be then affecting your knees. That would be my guess, but the text is a little bit obscure. I would say.
Yeah.
That part of this is a little bit. But
I think it's interesting though. So the holding your urine will cause your knees to become cold. I haven't had that experience, so I don't know. But it tells you not to do it because it's bad for you. Don't do it.
I wonder if there's any way to look at people or cultures that do like, so the Finnish will like sauna and then maybe jump in a lake and then go back in the sauna and jump in the lake. And I know that, I mean, this is a pretty broad correlation, but there's like, a lot of arthritis in northern communities in general. I wonder if this might be exacerbating it. It's hard to say.
No, definitely it is. Actually, we had I can remember we had a whole class on B with Volker Scheidt a couple of years ago. We had a whole week we spent on B syndromes, and actually that's one of the cases. These or people in England, they drink a lot and then they expose themselves to the cold. In the winter. So he gave these examples of girls with short skirts and then they drink a lot of alcohol in the middle of the winter. So everything is open and then all the cold comes in, Or like you said, Jesse, people like in Finland or in Scandinavia, they jump into this wax of cold and then they can completely frozen, actually. They have all these signs, actually. They have all that stuff.
But then isn't it sauna is supposed to be good for you?
Yeah, but the difference, I think, sauna could be okay, but one idea is actually, and I can remember, I catch the worst cold in my life after having a sauna and then taking a bath in really ice cold water outside. It was in a French place, and I think it depends also your body type. Some body types can deal with it, but if you're sensitive, that change from very hot into very cold. That can be very extreme, actually, because you're completely open and then all the cold comes in. So it's maybe not, at least not for every type of body, it's the good thing to do, I think.
Yes. Wow. Yeah. I mean, according to this text, it says, well, that's definitely a bad idea. It caused bone B. So
from Chinese medical perspective, generally, it's not the best idea.
We're spending a whole month on B, so maybe we'll be super experts.
Yeah. Okay, so let's read the next page. So I'll read the next bit. So again, it says, do not take off your clothes after profuse sweating. Okay. Otherwise, you are likely to get lopsidedness. This is the pian that I translated as lopsidedness caused by wind, pian feng. with half your body unable to move. So that's 半身不遂, half of the body, 半身不遂, not following, unable to move. So I think last time we kind of thought lopsidedness might be just a little bit too strong. So 偏锋 is just kind of one-sidedness, something, something sort of not balanced on one side of your body. And then, and then half of your body is not following, not doing what it's supposed to do. 不遂. So it's kind of a little bit like paralysis, but again, not as strong, maybe. So this kind of relates to again what we said about earlier about this sweating and then enter into the water. So if you're sweating, your pores are open, and if you're then get really hot and take your clothes off, obviously then the winds come in, enter into your body. So bad idea according to this text. Okay, so next one. Is that all right? Yeah, any question? Okay. The Yangshen Classics Compendium says, so this is the Yangshen Yaoji. Here is Yangshen Jing Yaoji, so it's the same text. Says, apply powder to yourself immediately after profuse sweating. Otherwise, the sweat sticks to your clothes and makes them wet. You will get ulcers and have difficulty in urinating and having bowel movements. So the Yangshen Classic Compendiums, the Yangshen Yaoji is a text, I think it's written around maybe like 4th century AD or CE. It's a text written for sort of southern aristocrats. So it's for people who are kind of well-to-do family members, just to teach them how to look after themselves. So so you kind of imagines when they sort of sweating, then it says put powders on your body. So you kind of think, okay, that's what people in the sort of well-to-do families would have, something like that. But then you can ask like, oh, why can't they just take a shower? Well, I don't know. Maybe it's not readily available. I don't know. But basically, apply powder. That could be, what they would normally do.
Do we have any idea what would the powder be made of?
I don't know. I can't imagine there's no sort of, in my head, it's like sort of baby powder, this sort of talcum powder. But I don't know about the 7th century, powder.
Mm-hmm.
Anything, I think it would be something to do with sort of, imagine sort of rich family, they got some kind of powder to dry their skin, to make their skin dry, whatever the ingredients would be. So yeah, I think then they probably already have talcum powder, that sort of material. So they might use something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, so if you have so if you if you make your if you don't do that, then the sweat will stick to your clothes and makes your clothes wet, and then you get ulcers, which is, I think, quite serious. And have difficulty in urinating and having bowel movements. So yeah. So definitely don't do it. So okay. Should we move on to the DAOI instructions? Yeah. Okay. So let me read this first one. The Yangshen recipes, the DAOI methods says, first, hook your right heel onto your left big toe. This gets rid of Winby. Okay, figure 27. So if we look at the Chinese, I just wanted to say, the translation sometimes may not completely sort of literally translating. So if I look at the Chinese, I would say it is use right heel constrain or restrict the left toe, big toe. Yeah. So so the English translation kind of sort of modify a little bit. So hook your right heel on your left big toe. So basically you're trying to restrict your left big toe with your right heel. So that's how, you know, how that picture shows. That's my interpretation of what that would suggest. And then this gets rid of win B. Second, hook your left heel onto your right big toe. So again, so that's just the other way. This gets rid of 绝臂. We can try that because I think the next one looks looks quite different actually. So should we just try again this one? It doesn't tell you to you know, how you breathe or whatever, or whether even whether you're lying down or not. But I think it's easier if you do it lying down, and then you can just bring the weight of your heel, the right. So the first one is the right heel to just restrict or restrict your left big toes. So try that and then swap, you know, with the left heel, press onto the right toe. So just do that a few times and see whether that's anything related to B. Yeah, should we try that? Or anybody, Jesse?
With the restrain verb, do you think that we should be pushing into our heel with our toe, but you can't because it's being held back? So we're sort of activating our flexor muscles of our big toe, or just let it be passive?
I would sort of press it down with my heels, trying to press onto the toe. Is that your question, or sorry?
Well, should the toe be pushing up into the heel as well? Because it's being restrained by the
All right, so you're trying to sort of two forces.
yeah.
I naturally wouldn't do it.
Right.
I would just let the weight of the heel to kind of trying to, because the verb, the active one is to do. So is the heel that does the work rather than the toes. The toe kind of doesn't really do anything.
Okay.
Yeah, so the active verb is is for your heel to constrain or restrict the big toes. Okay,
Okay.
let's try it. Have a go and see how you feel. How did you find, Jesse, the hooking the heels onto your toes? Any
A little underwhelming.
underwhelming?
Yeah, I didn't feel like it was
Doing anything to
it
you?
was going to live up to the hype of curing my wingate. I mean, it would certainly, if someone's watching TV and they had B and they wanted to do something to maybe help, I would say you could do this and see what happens.
Right, yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like a little bit abstract for me as well. I kind of feel like I need to do that almost like for a very, very, very long time or something. But then I'm beginning to feel that my hands get like sort of sweaty with my hands. It's kind of affecting my hands a bit. I begin, feel the sweat from my hands when I'm sort of working on my, with that postures. But I'm really curious about other people's experiences. Do you feel anything anybody wants to share?
I definitely felt that I shouldn't push back with my
Okay.
I didn't do
Make
that.
it more
I just let,
effective.
yeah, that didn't feel comfortable. So I just let it rest.
Yeah.
But I think you have to do it a lot of time. I had no really special sensations, but I can, and also I in the text it's also it's also for so it's not only B, it's reversal B, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. 绝壁, 绝 is reversal. So the chi, so the, opposite direction.
So somehow you have to bring it back in a way by this exercise. Looks like.
Supposed to, yes. I mean, I'm sort of interested. I mean, I never seen this kind of exercise anywhere else.
No.
So this to me is quite unique, quite unusual, really. So there must be a reason why they want to do that. Why on the toes? Why on the big toes? I think using the heels is kind of quite logical because the heels kind of big, it's already got weight. And then you prep, but why onto a toe, big toe?
Maybe because, but that's just a guess because the liver channel is there.
That was
So
my thought too. I was like, it's where the liver channel is, and it's
Okay,
kind of susceptible and correlates with wind.
right.
Also reversal syndromes can
Mhm.
manifest in liver. It's not only liver, of course, but could,
Mhm.
yeah, it's a guess.
Okay. That's interesting. You're restricting your big thumb, big toe, I mean. Yeah, okay. I mean, I didn't really find sort of quite drastic either, but just beginning to feel kind of sweating on my hands. And so again, anything sweating or causing sort of generating heat for me is kind of curing the B or whatever, that sort of obstructions in your body, trying to clear the blockage or the impediments. So should we try the third one? This instruction actually has got 3 things. So we've done the 2, which is, do it on, and then the other foot. The third one is on page 87. With both hands, pull one foot and place the instep above your knee. Repeat with the other foot. This gets rid of all the B impediments in the body. Okay, so instep. So the Chinese character is 足夫. So fu is the top part. So that means the illustration is not quite accurate because you really, I think you kind of need to somehow bring the instep of one of your feet to the other. on, place that onto your knee. So maybe trying to see if that could be possible. It could be your legs need to go sideways in order to bend to make the instep to touch onto your knee or something like that. So yeah, I don't think the illustration is that accurate. Just for you, so you know. Should we try? So again, you repeat, yeah? So you lie on, lie down and then changing feet. Place the other foot, the instep above your knee. See if we can do it. I mean, I don't know. We'll try it. Should we? How's that? Is it a bit more powerful this time? Feels more effective, isn't it? Feels like this is almost like a yoga posture or something. It requires sort of extreme effort.
I
What do you think,
must admit,
Crystal?
I definitely pulled on some other experiences to maneuver myself.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it kind of also makes a bit of sense that the channel, like by positioning the foot, I sort of twisted the upper part of my foot and tucked it underneath my leg. But because there's no breath work involved with a specific
No,
step,
that's right.
I felt like it kind of still stay true to the previous theme that we've been noticing about holding breath and building tension by kind of contracting or confining the entire liver channel and then releasing it, and also affecting its opposing channel by kind of elongating it at the same time. It was almost like creating a manual type of movement.
Okay. Wow. So did you put your, so that the instep on your, I kind of place it on my leg, actually.
I kind of tucked mine in almost in behind.
Oh, behind your leg.
I kind of tucked it underneath.
Yeah.
And
so you can,
and
your
sort of
leg
had
is on the side.
twisting. Yeah. Almost like a bit of a twist to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels quite powerful, doesn't it? It feels like your body's like really stretch.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like that as well. How did you feel, Jesse?
I'm a little confused. I think maybe I was doing it differently. Like when I think of the instep of like this part of the foot here, is this not the instep? Like
Instep is that part.
This part.
Yes.
Oh, so you're like.
So, yeah, so it's not quite the what it shows on the figure 29. I think the figure 29 is kind of oh, that's too hard. Let's do it simpler.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So yeah, so this is in the next edition, if we're going to publish the book again, we definitely change the illustration here, because I think it is important. It is the instep rather than the sole of your feet on to place that onto your knee. I think you kind of need to bend it so you kind of do it sideways. The feet is kind of
So more like a figure eight sort of thing.
Yeah, do you remember we kind of do that by standing up? You kind of hold it, and then you said just against the feet.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like that position, but then lying down. Because when you're lying down, it's like really tight in then because you got the okay.
So if it's above the knee, maybe it'd be helpful to bring the knee up, but you're holding.
Your feet is straight. The other leg is straight.
The other leg straight.
And then that one, you kind of need to bend your right leg further down in order to make the instep to be on the knee. Yeah. And you feel that tension, that sort of, it feels like you almost like need to open up your, makes your legs feels like really tight.
Yeah,
very constricted.
Really opens up the liver channel.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So so I think definitely changing that illustration to make it more accurate. Thank you so much, Crystal. Very good observation. Okay, let's move on. Well, I think we can definitely I think the next one, actually, we probably already done it. So should we just read it and then see if that, see if we want to do it. So again, it says, lying on your back, bring both knees together and spread out your feet. Lengthen your lumbars and inhale chi through through your mouth. This is quite unusual, until your abdomen is fully extended, and take 7 breaths. This gets rid of beat pain, heat pain, and inflexible calves. So calves, 2 calves not following, not moving. Maybe it's interesting. We should try, because I just realized, somehow, because a lot of instructions of these DAOI exercises, you breathe through your nose. So this one, you breathe through your nose, mouth. So mouth, inhale chi, and then extended the abdomen is self extreme. So really, as much as, bloating up your abdomen as much as possible, and you take 7 breaths. So basically you do that 7 times. All the time you're lengthening your lumbar area, and then you are bringing your knee together and then spread out the 2 feet. So the person who actually did this posture, he managed to hold his feet like that. I think, he's it's quite amazing. So maybe we should try it and try try with the inhalation with the mouth. I think that just to experience how that feels, and then extending your abdomen. Yeah. So we're trying to do that take 7 breaths. So do that 7 times. Let's have a go. How did you find the exercise?
That was an interesting one. I felt a lot of stretch along my diaphragm at the back and also around my diaphragm at the front. I don't
Yeah.
think I found an exercise that stretch the diaphragm quite like that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, for me, after a while, I feel like my body actually really likes it. Like feels like I could stay in that position for quite a long time, and I can just feels like really I can feel the sort of the front part of my legs like really stretch, but it's kind of nice feeling rather than sort of painful stretch. So it feels like it's really kind of is it's an exercise I can actually feels I can enjoy it. I won't be able to say that to a lot of exercise, but I think this one, after a while, it feels good. It feels like, yeah, it's quite enjoyable actually. And you really feel the stretch, but not like painful kind of stretch. And yeah, so it's kind of, yeah, it's a nice one. I quite like it actually. What do you feel about this inhale with the mouth? I actually forgot, and then afterwards I thought, oh no, I need to do it with my mouth.
That was the only thing what appeared to me a little bit less comfortable. Otherwise, also I agree. The exercise
With the
itself,
legs, yeah.
the movement is very nice.
Yeah.
But maybe it's just to be accustomed to it. Because I hardly do any exercise with my mouth open, so it feels a little
Yeah,
bit.
exactly. But I'm just wondering whether if that is to do with the heat, because it's trying to get rid of the heat pain. So pain induced by heat. So then I kind of feel like if you breathe in with your mouth, yeah, it's related to, for some reason I have that kind of idea, the mouth to do with the heat. And it may be trying to disperse the heat easily or quicker. I don't know. But it is very rare that you see the inhalation through your mouth. So there must be a reason. Otherwise, you wouldn't say it.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe it makes it more powerful in a way also. So I could go along with it. Maybe you generate more easily heat like that, maybe. Or you get rid of
the heat.
the heat, yeah. Get the
Yeah,
movement
exactly.
and move out the
Yeah.
heat. Yeah.
That's
Maybe.
right. Because if you do it through your nose is kind of already filtered. By the time it went in, it's
Right.
kind of already warming up.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
maybe, yeah.
that's the only reason. But I think obviously if you don't have heat pain, I think do it with the nose and just really relax into the posture is quite nice. Okay, Crystal.
But what if breathing through the mouth, because of the targeted area, most of the time, if we breathe in through our nose, we can get a much longer breath in and go deeper with it. The breath is not intended to go very far. So if we use our mouth, we're getting a little bit into the lung and a little bit below, but we're not going to get further than that.
We're going to extend our stomach quite
Right.
a lot.
But you're not going to get really far. I did not get very far into my abdomen with a mouth breath.
Yeah,
Right.
I found it I could get kind of to the diaphragm, but I wasn't going below that.
Okay.
It was more muscular work to try to expand the abdomen, breathing in through the mouth versus breathing in through the nose. Like I felt like it engaged my muscles in a different way.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of feel like your stomach needs to actually do the work in order to make it bloating, extending it, isn't it? Rather than the breath actually sort of somehow bring it wider. Yeah. Yeah, okay, that's interesting. Cool. Excellent. I think we're running out of time, and this disease entry has got many DAOI instructions, so we're not going to finish the whole thing, and which I think is fine because we're doing quite a lot already. So I think maybe we should end here, and then we start again next time when we meet, we start on page 88. Yeah. Great. Well, thank you so much, everyone. I'm really, really grateful to have you all here and just, really, I think it's so inspiring. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Bye. See you next time.